Today I fucked up by asking about my parental divorce and found out I contributed to the divorce. Update. Okay, first off, my parents have been divorced for 12 plus years. I am 21 now and was 7 or 8 when they split. I found out a few years ago it was because my mom was cheating on my dad with my nurse from the NICU from 1997. Oof. Casually talking to my mom, who has since remarried for the third time, I asked about their divorce out of curiosity. She went into a few details and brought up a car ride with my dad. She wouldn't elaborate, so I called my dad. Big mistake. Mind you, dad took me and my sister in when my mom left and raised us. It kind of went like this. So I was talking to mom about your divorce and she brought up a ride in the car with you that initiated the divorce. Dad, hesitantly, yeah, you, me and your sister were in the car when I came back from overseas and we were talking about what you guys wanted to be when you grew up. Your sister said something and you said I want to be a nurse like, insert his name here. I pulled over to the side of the road and you spilled the beans. Apparently, at 7 or 8, I informed my dad about a guy staying in our house in his room sleeping in their bed while he was gone for months for military stuff. I told him everything. How mom told us he was an old friend who needed help and who would be staying with us to protect us while daddy is gone. How he watched us for a week while mom disappeared, took us to movies, dinner, etc. There was a point of him asking if I would move to California with him and my mom. They got married 2 weeks after my parents' divorce was finalized and moved to California. I never remembered this occurrence. He said he went home, pulled phone records, emails and even the chat messenger history. This is like 2004 or 2005. I'm not blaming myself, but, damn. Little me saved my dad's ass from being used any longer by her. Note to self, don't ask too many questions. Insert big what the fuck here. Too long didn't read. Today I fucked up by asking too many questions about my parents' divorce and found out I'm the one who dimed my mom out for infidelity. Edit, this is a fuck up because I was apparently never supposed to know, hence my mom not wanting to talk about it and my dad being hesitant on telling me. Edit 2, super fuck up. I'm learning more and more about their marriage I never needed to know from other family. I was the save the marriage baby. Edit 3, wow. I didn't realize how many other people have gone through finding out this kind of stuff later in life. Kudos to all of you for learning from the example. Edit 4, holy shit. I've learned a lot from all of you. This blew up and I've made a few decisions. I am never getting married. I think it's time to cut off my mom. Don't ask questions about your parents' failed marriage. Edit 5, apparently, after the divorce, she wrote my grandmother a letter stating she didn't want to take care of children and wanted to live her life. Also, I didn't remember this occurrence because I guess it didn't really stick out to me. My dad said he acted calm and acknowledged everything, like a normal convo. The events after I remember oh so vividly. Moral of this story, don't think your kids won't talk if you're cheating and do not bring them around your kids. Actually, just don't cheat. Woman face palming, easier said than done but damn. Also, please note, I didn't have to throw any paper for my mom to be a hoe. Final edit, thanks to everyone for sharing their stories similar to mine and acknowledging that, for the children, the divorce was never their fault. These conversations have really got me thinking about how toxic for me it is to talk to my mom. I'll update in a bit. Thanks guys and keep your head up if you fuck up. 3 remarriages in 12 years makes me believe you were probably not the problem. The cheating part did that for me. Dude, that happened to me when I was 5. My dad was a fireman and would work 24-hour shifts, then have 2 days off. While he was at the station, my mom would have a friend come over and stay the night and leave before dawn. Somehow this friend came up in a conversation and my dad instantly knew who it was. My mom hated me for it ever since. She left just after Hurricane Hugo in 1989 and I haven't seen her since. Anyway, it's not a fuck up on your part, it's a fuck up on her part. She's the asshole here. This isn't on you. I was 12 when I figured out my mom was cheating on my stepfather who was a deployed Navy SEAL. I told my biological father, who told my stepdad. I'll never forget how afraid I was when my stepdad took me for a car ride and asked me to be totally honest with him, which I was. He knew I wasn't lying. My mom said some things to me that day that I wouldn't want any kid to hear from their parent. It is very much not your fault that your mother behaved like that. You did your father a complete solid purely out of innocence and probably saved him years of heartache. He's happily remarried, so I guess so. One time a cop pulled my dad over for running a red light, and my dad was like, "It was still yellow, I'm sorry officer," and my dumb 4-year-old ass goes from the back seat, "No, it was definitely red, I saw it." Not really like your story, but I thought I'd share. Kids are honest, yo. Today I fucked up by having a seizure and going full MMA on the 6 cops trying to help get me in the ambulance. Checking my email is the last normal thing I remember before waking up in the hospital, except for a few scary as fuck bits here and there. Hence, this comes from my own direct recollection, with the gaps filled in by my wife and other witnesses. I had a full tonic-clonic seizure, right at my desk. Details are mostly irrelevant here, but I've never had a seizure before. And initial assessment is that it was probably a perfect storm situation with a new prescription I was on that will, hopefully, never happen again. My wife was in the next room and of course called 911, and the ambulance showed up. Problem is, I was postictal, which is a post-seizure state where you're essentially not in your right mind. But when 2 big dudes came into my house unannounced and in a big hurry to move towards me, I went into home defense mode. The fact that they were clearly in EMT uniforms and there to help me was lost in the scrambled mess my brain was in, but my more basic instincts were working fine. I don't think I actually assaulted the EMTs, as they just kept their distance and radioed for police backup when I started yelling at them, telling them, apparently, "Get the fuck out of my house. I don't wanna fight you." And so the police sent one guy. Now I remember feeling extremely protective of my wife and convinced that this home invasion was serious business now that this 3rd guy was coming towards me and attempting to physically restrain me. I don't remember, but I'd bet you dollars to donuts that the millisecond he rolled his shoulders forward and widened his stance is the second that I went from uncooperative to full apeshit. It's just what you do when you're trained to fight and there doesn't seem to be another option, as when you are protecting your family like I thought I was about to have to do. That's when things started getting ugly. I was an amateur MMA fighter about 15 years ago with a local dojo, and while I haven't practiced for a long time, I can tell you those instincts never fully leave you. I know how to reverse any submission hold a local cop is likely to be able to proficiently attempt on me, apparently even whilst postictal. Before backup arrived, I had swept the leg of the officer and had him in an armbar. Thank fuck I didn't go for a blood choke whilst my brain was short-circuiting. I was also screaming, roaring, apparently, at my wife to call the police. The irony of my request was lost on me at the time. That primal roar was the scariest sound she's ever heard come out of my body, so she tells me, and I didn't stop roaring. Luckily, for him and me, cop number 1 didn't put up any further resistance until his backup arrived. 5 more big dudes showed up, now 6 cops plus 2 EMTs plus my wife. No weapons drawn, no tasers. Fortunately they knew they were walking into a medical call, and boy they should get a medal for how well they handled it. I wasn't going down without a fight, and 1v1 was no contest even though they were way above my weight class. But with sheer overwhelming force they pretty much wore me out and then dogpiled me to the ground, cuffed me in the back, and then stood me up to walk me to the ambulance. Big mistake. I easily spun my way out of the officer's control grip, hand on handcuff chain, other hand on my shoulder, and gave him a front kick to the breadbasket he probably won't forget anytime soon. Bring it, fuckers, I remember thinking, or saying. Who knows? I also remember being this weird mix of scared, emboldened by my recent escape, and pissed right the fuck off, all at the same time. Still cuffed, front kicks were the new order of the day. I was like the goddamn free sample guy at the supermarket, giving them out to anyone who came near me. Details are loose on what happened next, but I guess they did some kind of brute force team tackle again and got me to the ground, and from the cuts on my wrists, they may have used some kind of pain compliance technique with the cuffs. It didn't work, as I was able to shrimp my way out from underneath the guys on top of me and throw a nasty double heel kick from lying down. Fortunately it just grazed the guy on the shoulder rather than the neck/head, which is where I would certainly have been aiming. Next thing I remember vividly is being face down on my living room carpet, barely able to breathe, thanks to being out of shape these days, with at least one big guy on my back, and thinking this was the end for me. Then they'd rape my wife, and let my cat out in the cold winter night. They weren't screwing around at this point. Apparently judging it worth the risk, while I was pinned the EMTs shot me in the ass with some kind of chemical restraint, and the cops just sort of sat on me and let my wife try to calm me down until it had taken full effect and I was strapped to the gurney in soft restraints. When I woke up, over a full day later, combination of insomnia plus seizure plus downers plus 1v6 cage match really wore me out. I guess I was bruised to shit, but aside from some minor cuts on my wrists from the cuffs and a nasty hole in my bottom lip from me biting it during the seizure, I'm a lot better off than I could have been. I have some nasty pins and needles in my hands, so those cuffs must have been torqued fairly hard, by me or the cops, who knows, but I'm told by my attending doctor that should go away in about 6 months. When got home I called the police to apologize and thank them for getting my combative ass to the ambulance. Thanks to them for being incredibly good sports about the whole thing. And not pressing charges, especially given my level of enthusiasm. I'm still trying to wrap my head around just how badly this could have gone. Yeesh. The unpredictable seizure alone is bad enough without nearly suiciding by cop had there been a weapon within reach. Scares the bejesus out of me just knowing how absolutely out of control I was. Too long didn't read. I learned exactly how many big dudes with at least basic hand-to-hand training it takes to drag me from my home against my will. 6, plus a syringe of something in the ass. Edit, well, this was a much bigger response than I expected. Thanks for all of your comments, especially those from police and medical professionals and other patients that have gone through something similar. And, wow, thanks for the gold, kind strangers. Common question was where this happened, as a few of you figured out, stalkers. LOL, yes, I'm in Canada, and yes it was bloody cold out at the time, even by Canadian standards. Congratulations, /you/son_Stewart. This post has been chosen as the fuck up of the week. Fainted during a blood draw at the VA once. When I came to I was sure I was being taken alive by the Taliban and fighting them. Thankfully another guy convinced me he was on my side and calmed me down with some bullshit about local fighters helping or some such. I had punched at a few of the ladies in the blood draw room before he got me, but thankfully they were quick and jumped back. When you are out of your mind things are crazy. Thinking this was the end for me, then they'd rape my wife, and let my cat out into the cold winter night. Such cruel men. Medic here, try not to beat yourself up over it too bad man. We understand that you weren't in the right state of mind. It amazes me how strong someone who isn't in the right state of mind can be. I've literally seen a 90-pound, 102-year-old lady need 4 people just to restrain her. Also, from the sound of it, you got some Ativan in the butt. My 92-year-old grandma kicked a nurse in the chest with a broken hip. I worked as a fireman/medic in the worst part of Metro Atlanta. This happens way more than people think. More so due to low blood sugar emergencies, but postictal patients would sometimes act this way. We always made sure we communicated with the police that these patients were not in their right mind, and it was always handled well. Honestly, we tend to just start more fire trucks to the scene rather than the police. We actually had one patient we called Bear that would regularly have blood sugar emergencies. We knew the address well and would immediately start another fire engine to help. When we would arrive the wife would meet us at the door with this "it's happened again" look. He was a huge dude, and if he found out we were there he would immediately go into fight mode. We would regularly have to fight him to the ground and administer D50, sugar water, and within seconds he was apologizing and offering us all beers. We all came out of those fights like best friends that got into fist fights as kids but always hugged after. Good times. Today I fucked up giving myself head and throwing out my back. Reposted at the appropriate time with some adjustments. This happened about 3 days ago. I'm finally able to move and get out of bed. So I am generously endowed, and have a very good relationship with my dick. Lol. I occasionally post images on Reddit and other places, and someone asked me if I could perform autofellatio. I hadn't ever thought of it, so I read some tips, watched some videos and realized that because of my size and my general skinny frame, I have the ideal body type for sucking my own D. How exciting, lol. So, there are a few different approaches, leaning forward or legs over your head. I tried the leaning forward approach but had no luck at all, so then I was like fuck it, got naked, laid down near a wall, threw my legs over my head, and slowly walked down the wall as the advice was. Holy shit, I was close. Let me also say I was very aroused at the moment, and this was a few days of arousal, so my cock was extra hard and the head was pulsating. As the head flexed and I got my tongue on the tip of my dick basically on the first try. Wow. I was excited and turned on, and hard as fuck. So, I started stroking and pulling my cock closer to my mouth and it started getting even harder, and now I can basically put my lips on the head. It felt insane, and I was so happy. As I was stroking, my lips were able to almost fully cover the head, and I started to suckle. It didn't take much. The whole situation caused a deep orgasm. The shaking kind. Sidebar: yes, I came in my mouth. For reference, I am totally straight, and have never had a dick in my mouth. Okay, back to the story. So I'm shaking, feet over my head, dick in my mouth, and the final release pushed my body into a further position, and there it was. Not really sure what popped, but I collapsed onto my side and literally couldn't move. Cum dripping out of my mouth, laying on my side, naked, in the bathroom. Luckily feeling came back soon, but I couldn't stand up. Crawled to bed. Had a friend bring me some muscle relaxers, said I tweaked it cleaning under the counters, lol. Still in bed, but can actually walk today for the first day. Luckily I don't need to explain this to a doctor. TL doctor, sucked my own D, came in my mouth, threw out my back. Edit, thank you for all of the advice, and the offers, lol. I will not fuck around with this anymore. Edit 2, I spit, but not totally intentionally. It was that moment that all went to hell. Not sure what I would have done if I was thinking about it. Edit 3, come on guys, sucking your own dick is as gay as jerking off or playing with your ass. Get over it. If you're that afraid of your own body, that's weird, and super homophobic. Edit 4, I've heard it feels more like sucking dick than getting your dick sucked. I've never sucked a dick, so I can't tell you, and yes, it didn't feel like getting head from another person. But it was very pleasurable and felt better than my good old hand. Congratulations /you/TIFU Mirite. This post has been voted by our community as the fuck up of the week. /luckily I don't need to explain this to a doctor. Explains it to the entire internet instead. In your sidebar you said you have never had a dick in your mouth. Can't say that ever again. Just the tip. The first part of this was basically just porn. Mister? Let's see, 1, 2, throws out back and comes in mouth. 3. Edit, my first gold. Thank you.